Muy buenas tardes a todos. Volvemos una vez más a reunirnos en uno de los programas más interesantes que tiene el museo, que es escribir el Prado. Ya llevamos mucho tiempo haciendo, gracias a la Fundación Loewe, Sheila, gracias muchas por lo que haces. Y poco más tengo yo que decir. La persona que nos va a hablar acaba de entrar, está entrando ahora mismo. Es una persona que yo la he conocido hace unos días, bastantes días ya, y me ha impresionado muchísimo no solamente su biografía cuando la lees, sino su presencia también, cómo habla, cómo se expresa, cómo vive. Es una persona estupenda, es británica y lleva 12 años, me parece, viviendo en Praga. Eso sí que me parece una hazaña, realmente. Bueno, pues nada más, vamos a pasar un buen rato y sin más te doy las gracias. Sheila, te ofrezco el que vengas aquí para recibir las gracias y para que digas unas palabras.
Muchas gracias, Javier. Buenas tardes a todos. La Fundación Loewe lleva 37 años apoyando y creando diferentes proyectos culturales y Escribir el Prado, es uno de los que nos sentimos especialmente orgullosos. Luego le tendremos que explicar a Helen que esta asistencia en un día lluvioso en Madrid es de grado heroico, porque en Madrid nos bloqueamos cuando caen 3 gotas y han caído muchas. Y bueno, muchísimas gracias a Miguel Falomir, al director del Prado, a su gran equipo y, por supuesto, muchísimas gracias a Valerie Milles de Granta en español y a Helen Oyeyemi y a todos ustedes por acompañarnos en esta maravillosa aventura de escribir el Prado. Muchísimas gracias.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Javier Arnaldo del Centro de Estudios de aquí, del Museo del Prado, y es también para mí un placer dirigirme a ustedes para darles la bienvenida a la cita de hoy, muy especial. Es la ocasión que tenemos de compartir la experiencia de nuestra residente en el programa literario Escribir el Prado, Helen Oyeyemi. Es un programa que lleva ya 3 años, este es el tercer año que se celebra, siempre se invita a 2 escritores cada año que hacen residencias por separado y es una invitación realmente a una inmersión en la vida del Prado, desde luego en sus colecciones, su, digamos, vida diaria desde horas antes de la apertura del museo hasta después del cierre, en convivencia no solo con las colecciones y su historia y su memoria cultural, sino también con el equipo humano, y de ahí que el beneficio del museo se note también en las conversaciones con los invitados, en ese enriquecimiento nuestro, quiero decir, del equipo humano del museo y en lo posible también del residente o la residente. Hay una ocasión especial en la cita de hoy, como en otras que hemos celebrado, que es la conversación, la puesta en común de una experiencia literaria, una experiencia también en relación al Prado, que es un contacto, desde luego, con el público, con todos nosotros, con todos ustedes, con sus lectores viejos, nuevos, con sus lectores futuros y, en fin, con la colectividad que hace en este caso, a nuestra sociedad española, donde se han publicado en traducción unas cuantas novelas y libros de relatos de Helen Oyeyemi. Hay que agradecer desde luego y mucho a la Fundación Loewe su apoyo constante en este programa. Mucho hay que agradecer igualmente a la revista Granta en español, dirigida por Valerie Milles, que es quien conversará hoy con Helen Oyeyemi, y que bueno, es asesora permanente del programa Escribir el Prado, junto a otras personas, entre las que hay gente del museo y también externos, como puede ser el ejemplo de Jaime Siles. Bien, y en el capítulo de agradecimientos quiero decirlo expresamente, las gracias a Curro Tardío de Relaciones Internacionales del Museo. Este programa, digamos, se organiza desde el Centro de Estudios, pero en estrechísima y diría muy grata colaboración con, como les digo, el Departamento de Relaciones Internacionales. La experiencia que ha tenido este programa, les decía, se remonta a 2023. Han pasado por esta casa, por este museo, autores absolutamente consagrados, como es el caso de Coetzee o Tokarczuk, uno en 2023, la otra en 2024, y también autores emergentes, como es el caso de Chloe Aridgis, o, bueno, ya no tan emergente, John Banfield, que estuvo el año pasado, es un autor muy acreditado, pero digamos que hay como un reparto de premios en los que, por los que nos guiamos, y entonces se realiza esa distinción. En cualquier caso, siempre es una ocasión de nuevo conocimiento y de relectura de autores muy consagrados o bien conocidos, y otras veces también ocasión de descubrimiento de obras que no hemos leído aún. En fin, no les quiero entretener mucho más. Lo más importante era el capítulo de agradecimientos y desde luego la bienvenida a Helen Oyeyemi y a Valerie Milles, a quienes vamos a escuchar de inmediato. Gracias.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias. Muchas gracias a Sheila, a Miguel, a Javier, a todo el grupo del Prado, que hay un equipo muy grande detrás, también de la Fundación Loewe. Y muchísimas gracias, Helen. Thank you very much, Helen, for being here with us as our fellow now. Yo voy a hablar vamos a hablar en inglés. Si alguien necesita traducción simultánea, ya saben, ahí se puede coger los aparatos. Well, so Helen, welcome. I'm just going to read very quickly your biography, so that everybody has you located, and then we're going to enter a bit of a conversation. First, let's see, biography. Helen Oyeyemi has 11 books, which include Gingerbread, Parasol Against the Axe, and most recently, A New Me. She's a recipient of the Somerset Maugham Award and Penn's Open Book Award, and her novel Pieces was shortlisted for the Goldsmiths Prize. Oyeyemi is a fellow of the Royal Society in London. She's reviewed fiction for The New Statesman, for The Guardian, for The New York Times. She's been a member of the judging panels for the Giller Prize, also for Granta's Best of Young British Novelists Award shortlist or list, and the Man Booker Prize International. She lives in Prague, as mentioned. We're going to begin this conversation. Helen has been here already for 4 weeks, right? It goes very quickly, doesn't it?
I'm not sure. Is this working? Okay.
Yeah. And so we decided, we've been talking a lot, and through our conversations, these weeks have come to some conclusions or maybe just conclusions that open questions again, right? More like. So we're going to begin by just talking a little bit about the name La Belleza de los Cambios, the name of the talk that we're going to have, and the reason why. And Helen is going to, this is actually comes from a poem. Helen's going to read for us and tell us a little bit about why she chose this as a title.
Do I stand up to read, or shall I?
Whatever you would like.
Okay, I'll stay sitting. So it's this beautiful. I just love Richard Wilbur. He's this poet that I discovered through reading him talking about another poet that I really love. I think I must have been reading a book about Emily Dickinson, and the author referred to a line. Richard Wilbur describes Emily Dickinson as, trying to get it right in my mind, the laureate and attorney of the empty-handed. And I thought, how does he know? How does he know? I need to read this poet. And then I read all of his poems after that. But this is one of my favorites because I think it talks about what art does. I think it talks about what art does and what art is. Okay, here's the poem. Well, 2 stanzas of it. The beautiful changes as a forest is changed, by a chameleon's tuning his skin to it, as a mantis arranged on a green leaf grows into it, makes the leaf leafier, and proves any greenness is deeper than anyone knows. Your hands hold roses always in a way that says they are not only yours. The beautiful changes in such kind ways, wishing ever to sunder things and things selves for a second finding, to lose for a moment all that it touches back to wonder.
It's a beautiful poem. Also, is a very visual poem in the way that it creates a very vivid image and imagery. But I think here, perhaps, part of the interest of the poem is also the idea of change. Is that right?
But also, even just those 3 words, as we were saying, for the different ways that you can spin them, Wilbur is simultaneously saying the beautiful is that which changes. He's saying that beauty changes things. He's saying that within beauty there are certain adjustments that make beauty even more beautiful, like making the leaf leafier. There's so much activity in what seems to be still, and maybe that's what makes art and not just another thing or just another experience. It's what makes it sublime in some way.
Mm-hmm. There's, as we've been talking, there's a time when you, talking about changes and talking about what we see, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but just to kind of give us a little foreshadowing of what we're going to talk about later. The idea of that sometimes the things that we see and the things that we read, why do they have to be the same things that other people see and other people read?
I'm not quite sure how to. Can we come back to this question?
You want to go? Okay, so we'll work our way.
Circle
we'll
around.
Get there. Absolutely.
It's a big one.
Yeah, it is. So let's work our way, like, step by step. We'll get there. But we had, one of the things that also we have talked about in this sense, the idea of changes, the idea of travel, the idea of living in other places, the idea of I think you once, when we were talking about extreme alienation, which is that of living somewhere else that is not your language, that is not your culture, but yet you adapt to a new place and you have to change.
That's not what I meant by extreme alienation. I meant as in I am an alien.
Yes.
Like, UFO, I'm still waiting for the UFO to come and get me. It's not showing up, so I have to live amongst these people. Like that's what I meant by extreme alienation. But obviously definitions vary.
Yes, of course, definitely. Well, talking about Prague, You said that Prague is not a city. It's something that happens to you, right? Tell us a little bit more about Prague, and you've been there for many, many years now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you've written your first novel, actually, now about Prague. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
So I think Prague is the only place that I unconditionally love, as in it's a place that I don't need it to do anything for me. I don't even need it to like me. I just want to be there. Although, very excitingly, when I was in Kentucky on a residency for 6 months, a friend wrote
That's
to
a long
me.
residency, 6
Yeah,
months.
I got really homesick. I would have dreams where I
Wow.
woke up and I was in Prague, and then I was like walking around. But my friend wrote to me, "Do you know why someone is writing the word Helen on all of these walls?" And he sent me a photo, and it was true. Somebody was writing Helen on walls in Prague, and I never found out. They stopped. They stopped a couple of years ago. After the pandemic, they stopped. But for a while, I sort of went into a delusional state where I told myself that Prague finally liked me back and was saying, "Helen, Helen, Helen." Or
we
that I
love
was
you.
sleepwalking and somehow like writing Helen. But it's a place that, I don't need anything from Prague except that it just be.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the most difficult things when I finally decided to write the Prague novel, my Prague novel, was working out how to make up a story about a city that doesn't want to be in stories. Like, so many things have happened in Prague, so many non-fictional things that are just almost beyond imagination, that I think that the city is really just not interested in being fictionalized. So it was this way of like me trying to like get Prague into a story in some way. But then the more that I worked, the more I realized that this is why Prague has been able to remain itself for this long.
Mm-hmm.
So many regimes have passed through it. So many forces have tried to shape it. And it just always kind of steps to the side and
Mm-hmm.
does its own thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's my love story with Prague.
Well, we'll come back to that in a little bit when we begin to talk about the Prado. But also, you have dated other cities before you got to Prague. So one of those cities, not because you spent a lot of time there, but because it inspired in some way your fiction, and because you found a certain home there, which is Barcelona, right?
Yeah. Barcelona. My Barcelona story begins with Mr. Fox, which Jaume mysteriously picked up. I remember feeling so nervous meeting him because I knew about his philology background.
Yeah.
And I was always acutely aware when he spoke to me of his relationship with language. Actually, I felt like it was, the way that quantum physicists develop like this kind of really loose relationship between cause and effect. Like, they understand these things so well that they just are gentle with it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of felt like that with Johnny. Like, he understood the meaning of everything that he said so well that he was very forgiving of like other people's nonsense, I think, and especially mine. But I especially remember because I had impulsively pledged allegiance to Gaudi after going to La Cajera, and he just kind of looked at me and said, "Do you even know if you mean that?" and I was like, and then I wrote Books and Roses, kind of as a way of saying, yes, I do mean it. Like, I really, I belong to Gaudi, kind of thing, but also in the hope of making him laugh, because that was always a really wonderful thing to do, if you could do it.
Right. For those of you who don't know, the first publisher, the first and I think only Spanish publisher that Helen has worked with is Jaume Baicorba from Acantilado. And Jaume bought her novel called Mr. Fox, which was really kind of a break in the Acantilado catalog at that time. It was one of your fifth novel, I think. Fourth, okay, fourth novel. So, and it was a bit of a change in the catalog for Jaume. But they became close friends. Jaume had such an appreciation for Helen's writing and for Helen's work that it became kind of a house for you and a refuge in many ways. Is that right?
Yes, there was this sense of an assurance, well, of the way that Acantilado works, which is adopting an author, like for life. That's what it feels like. So you have that kind of like extra sense of, a home-like feeling, or that there's somebody out there who will get it, or.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of funny, the book of stories, Helen has also written a book of short stories called What Is Not Yours Is Not Yours. And it is the one book, I think, that was stolen here in the
on the first day, which I'm
of
very
course
proud
it had to be, right? The one book that's stolen is What Is Not Yours Is Not Yours. Tell us a little bit about the story that you wrote about Montserrat and Monza.
Because the primary goal was to make Jaume laugh. I played on San Jordi's Day, the exchange of a book and a rose, except that I went maximalist and I increased the scale so that instead of a book and a rose, it's a garden and a library that are being exchanged. It's just like all completely over the top. And in the middle of it, there's a foundling who doesn't own anything actually, but comes to own all of the books and all of the roses. So it was just this kind of, I was clowning around a little bit, but I was also sincere, which I think was very fun to write.
Now, from your time with Barcelona, you also came to Madrid. You came to Madrid in 2019, right? And in 2019, tell us a little bit about your experience in Madrid.
I came to the Prado, and then the next day I came back to the Prado, and then the day after that I came to the Prado again, and then I had some snacks. And then I went to Granada, and that was pretty much, it was all Prado all the time. I loved it so much. I couldn't get enough. It was kind of, a difficult experience to describe, except that the really fun thing is that, and the more that I know about how the curation of the Prado works and how active life the artwork actually leads in these halls, it seems like a miracle that I met this painting that I love. But I'm not going to describe the painting because it's kind of like when you tell your friend that you've fallen in love and they're like, okay, let's see who you've fallen in love with. And then you're like scrolling through, like trying to find the best picture of them where the camera sees them the way that you see them. And you're just like, oh no, they don't photograph well, but wait. So that's why I'm not going to tell you what the painting is. But I will say that when I came back this time, by some miracle, the painting was here again. And, Bernardo's been brilliant and got me records of where she has been. She's been in and out of storage. She's been in restoration. There was a very big chance that we wouldn't have met again, or at least like not this year and not in 2019. So we did, and we're very happy together.
Well, that's definitely living an experience, no? Well, tell us a little bit more now about the experience from having come as, I guess you could say, a civilian in 2019, and now coming as part of the Prado program. And because honestly, I think of the Prado Fellows, you have really been taking advantage of the time here, like in a very active way, and it's really exciting to see that, to see that.
It's because this is
interaction.
A dream. This is, right from the beginning of the year when we were talking about it, I just kept saying I don't think this is going to happen because it seemed like it's so exactly what I want. But also, I'm not sure if this is real life. I'm also like, it's okay if if it's a dream. I'll just keep sleeping. I wanted to meet every curator, and I've been haunting the restoration department, and everybody has been so good to me. Like, everyone has been so open, so generous, so patient with my. I get niggly questions about things. Maybe the most fun thing that happened yesterday, you know, when you go and you're just like by yourself, was that Marta in the restoration lab, she picked up this thing and she was like, "What is this?" And I looked at it and I was like, "I don't know, like, is it a bone? Is it a tooth?" And it was a porcupine quill.
Oh.
She restores with a porcupine quill. It's when you don't want to cut, but you still need to move particles around, so like very, very delicately. And so now, in the back of my mind, there will always be Marta, like scraping away with a porcupine quill. Like, I have my head full of all of these just images from extraordinary conversations with extraordinary people. That's the other thing. Everyone here thinks that they're normal. They're so not normal. Like, everybody is like a superhero. So it's been fantastic, and the real treasure of it has been talking about art with the curators, with the restorers, with everybody, but in a way that's beyond the image. Going back to 2019, the thing that surprised me was a visceral reaction that I had to Goya in particular. I hadn't really thought that much about as an artist, but being present with the works themselves made a difference, and people who interact with the object know it in a different way and help me to see it in a different way. And actually, after I saw the Goya paintings, I went back to Prague. There's this sculptor called František Bílek, who was. And it's kind of, František and Francisco, like the same name, but Czech and Spanish. And I feel that he kind of vibrates on the same frequency as Goya. So he has this sculpture that's called The Feeling of Transmitting a Sickness. And the figure is kind of like curled up, and you can see on their face that they're sort of half proud of themselves for having released damage into the world. Is what I think of as malicious joy, which I think of is in the black paintings. There's this malicious joy, but there's also this kind of desperate sadness. And František Bílek started sculpting maybe 70 years after Goya put his brush down, but I felt like a continuum between them. So I guess one thing that looking at things in the Prado does is open doors, so that then wherever you go, you start seeing the Prado everywhere.
Right, of course, absolutely. And there have been other instances, between Prague and Madrid, between also things that you've seen in the Prado that have to do with the history. And you've been, it's very funny because even though, you can tell that you've been long enough in that place that there's a certain kind of joy that happens when you find those connections, right?
Yeah,
which kind of means that you're starting to belong to a place. Careful.
Yeah, I don't want that, but if that's the way that it is, if it's Prague, then that's okay. I think the thing that surprised me most was realizing that Prague and Madrid are both Habsburg cities. And also Rudolf, so I think between maybe 11 and 19, the Emperor Rudolf was here in Madrid. And what people say, I've only read this in 2 biographies, but what people say is that he was fine, and then he came to Madrid, and then he got kind of weird. And it was because of his weird Spanish cousins who influenced him with all of this strange art and things like that. And after he turned 19, on the brink of 20, and he went back to Vienna and to the great seat of the Holy Roman Empire, he moved it to Prague. So it was kind of as if he was after Madrid, something changed, like the beautiful changed.
And the beautiful changes, exactly.
So there's that, but then also, I wonder if I now look at things slightly with the Habsburg City eye, because one of my favorites in the Veronese exhibition turned out to be a piece that had been owned by Rudolph, and it was the...
And did you know the connection before you liked it?
No, I just saw it and I just thought...
Interesting. You see?
I was so charmed by it. I just thought it was... I don't have the words for it, but it's the... And also I might get the title wrong, but it's where these cherubs have captured Mars and they're tying his leg.
Yes.
Tying his leg to Venus. Yeah. And there's just so much within that scene. But then this is also something that... or maybe we'll talk about it coming up, like in the difference between writing and painting. But I felt so much envy looking at that image, because it's so...
That he was able to paint that.
It's an approach to narrative that's so rich that you almost despair being able to do something like that in words, because you have to fight chronology like all the time when you're writing. Like the writing has to go this way or that way, but in a painting, and especially what Veronese does with colors and with like gestures and everything, it's really an everything, everywhere, all at once situation, right. And it's something that I. So Stendhal, in his book Love, said that novelists are always like pleading their case, and they're trying to say that this is what reality is. Like actually every novel you open it, you have the novelist trying to connect this thing to that thing and say, look, here's reality. And then a painting just does it like this.
Of course. The time conundrum.
Yeah. It just completely and effortlessly like steps over the time question.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what it's like to be a creator. You aren't. The Prado is full of the world's great scholars, technicians. The people who know, the historians, but you are coming into all of the kind of this knowledge, but as somebody who's going to create and who is a creator. So you're looking at the paintings in a different way. You're looking, the way that you're seeing, the way that you're looking, the way that you're interacting with the painting is from somebody who is also painting, using the kind of tired metaphor, but nonetheless explicative, of painting with words, no? So, your interaction is a little bit different. What do you think about that?
It makes me feel like a fool, but in the best possible way. So recently I tried to kind of close a hole in my reading, and I read Erasmus's essay in Praise of Folly. And I thought, so he has these two big points about fools and like the roles that they play, and like why it's great to be a fool, like and in the persona of Folly praising herself. He says that fools have no fear. That's the first thing. And then the other thing is that they expose truth, not even by the things that they say, but just by the way that everyone around them interacts with them. Like, you understand the truth of a situation. And I feel like that in front of the artworks, actually. I feel fearless. And I feel as if... Because the great fear when you're trying to put some words together, like you're doing your best, you're like scraping together a bit of a paragraph, is that you're creating something that doesn't have a right to exist in some way, or something that shows your imagination to be deformed, or like just something that's not acceptable on either an aesthetic or like interpret, just like whatever, like there's this fear. But then when the artwork is communicated, it's almost like the fear's removed. And when you see something that's like perfectly realized and perfectly imagined in front of you, that is the image that you can go towards. It's the image that you're always striving for, and you feel, the absence of fear, and you also feel that truths, maybe truths that you don't yet know how to express, are coming to the surface as well. So it's kind of like it all feels like a wonderfully foolish process.
That's interesting. Foolish and yet at once fearless. No,
Yeah, because fools they don't worry about anything. Like
Right.
they just do.
Right, right. And because I know there are a lot of times when you question, like in a way that perhaps somebody who comes from kind of, scholarly knowledge already has kind of the canonical responses, and and you kind of are more, I don't want to say playful or just mischievous, maybe. Mischievous seems a little bit more, no?
I'm definitely on the side of mischief.
Definitely, yeah. Well, there's one thing that, a lot of people have said really wonderful things about Helen's books. She's, been reviewed everywhere and blurbed everywhere. But there's one that I really like myself that I'm going to say, and it's in Spanish. Nada te prepara para la experiencia de leer a Oyeyemi. No hay llave que abra su literatura, pero en ello radica su embrujo.
I didn't understand.
Did you understand? Okay. No, because she's learning Spanish and she does very well. Yeah,
I know.
She can understand some of the curators. She hasn't needed any translation.
Because I don't know. That's Prado stuff. It's mysterious Prado stuff. I can't understand Spanish anywhere else in Spain.
But in the Prado, listening to the curators, of course. That's the magic of the place, which we're going to see in a minute with our video.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so it means nothing prepares you for the experience of reading Oyeyemi. There's no key that can open her literature, but that's exactly the bewitchment or the wonderment. So I thought that was really good, and especially because you've used keys in the past as a leitmotif in your work, so it's something that you think about a lot. But we were in Toledo, going, is it all right if I mention this?
Sure.
So we were in Toledo and we saw the painting of the Conde de Orgaz, and she saw a pair of, Peter's keys, and kind of got a little bit nervous about that, like, they're going to fall.
It looks like he was going to drop them.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments, but I think it's kind of it's trauma from writing the Keys book. Obviously, I loved writing about Keys, but the whole time that I was writing that book, Keys just kept messing with me. Like, it's things like I can't even describe to you the things that happened. Maybe the biggest one was that one day when I was out at the library, some painters came and changed the color of my front door, like the front door of the building that I lived in, and so I couldn't.
Where was this, in Prague?
Yeah, and I couldn't find where I lived, so I just walked up and down the street, and I just had this kind of I thought it's finally happened. Like, I don't know where I live, and then eventually I came to the door, and then I just tried the key that. I was just kind of this must be the door. It doesn't look like the door, but it has to be the door. And then I tried the key and it worked. And then I just went in. But things like that with keys just kept happening while I was trying to write the Keys book, as if the keys were saying, don't talk about us. So yeah.
The worlds of Helen, she always writes from a place where you can never be 100% sure of where you are. Using kind of the reality in a way that the story itself knows that it's a story. So by the story, knowing it's a story, it can play around and it can mess around, right?
It can do whatever it wants, and it does. It really does.
Exactly. And in a way, we could think, and we can bring this a little bit to we want to talk about the mutability, right, of art. But I think maybe, do you think it's a good time to see the little clip?
Yes, because it kind of, what Manuel says, and I'll talk about it afterwards, kind of ties in with something that happens to me when I see my painting. Obviously not on the scale that he described, but when I see my painting, I feel like there's a reorganization of space.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure what causes it. But anyway, yeah, let's.
Mm-hmm.
I was so.
And this is the painting, she's talking about the painting from 2019.
Yeah, my painting. But I was so delighted with Manuel's story. Like, but actually, all of the Voices of the Prado interviews are just fascinating.
There's the Voices of the Prado, if anyone is interested. There's a series of people from the Prado talking about their work, talking about experiences, talking about what they do. Helen has been kind of going through all of them and listening
I've become a Prado nerd.
Prado nerd, exactly.
But seriously, there's not one interview that is not interesting. Like, there's a nugget in every single one. And yeah, Manuel's one, I was just like, I watched it so many times.
Yeah, and so this is one of the favorites. It's just a brief clip, but here we go.
Un buen día, yo paso por esa sala y veo que el cuadro no está. No le veo, o sea, yo sé que está porque distinguía el marco, más o menos percibía la sombra, pero el cuadro no lo veía. Entonces, lo primero que pensé automáticamente es que, anda, pues el cuadro no tiene luz. El cuadro, no digo que estuviese iluminado, sino que el cuadro no tenía luz. Porque yo me había integrado, yo creo que tanto ya en el cuadro, que yo me imaginaba que la luz que tenía era del cuadro. Y lo que había pasado simplemente es que se había ido la luz o habían cortado algún circuito en ese momento para hacer la reforma que fuese y simplemente habían cortado esa obra. Yo, el segundo ese o 2 segundos que tardé en comprenderlo, me supuso una decepción porque dije, anda, pues el cuadro no tiene luz.
Okay, so why don't
You can see how disappointed he was. Like,
Yeah.
Why was I not inside the painting? Why? It made me so happy. I felt like, oh, so there are people that see art the way that I do. But I was also very curious. I mean, I wonder if I ever met him, I guess I would want to know if this is something that was a cumulative effect.
Mm-hmm.
So after so much time around the art, you naturally begin to feel and assume that you are going to end up inside a painting looking out, and that's going to be a desirable thing. Because for a lot of people, that would be a nightmare, right? But he was so happy that it might have happened. And so was I. But with my painting, I have this weird feeling. Well, the first time that I encountered this painting, even though I was looking at the painting directly, I felt as if I was standing beside the person pictured, who's actually, and because I go to see this painting every day, her regard changes. So she's never looking at the person that's looking at her. She's looking kind of down to the side. And at first I thought that she was thinking, but now I'm starting to think that she's watching something. But I don't know what she's watching. And the way that the configuration of paintings that she's currently in is perfect, because there is actually a direct target for this downward gaze now. But when I first met her, she was just looking down like that, and then I was standing beside her looking down. But this time, and I don't know if it's because of changes that have been made, because the painting has been through restoration, but I think it was like a very, I think it was just restoration of cracks and also cleaning that was done to the painting. But now I feel like I'm behind her.
Like you're behind her.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I don't know. I don't know about that, but it's mysteries of Prado paintings that I connected very much with what Manuel said.
Yeah, of course. Well, and this mutability that goes along with the poem that we read at the beginning, no, and these changes, and the fact that when you're seeing the painting, and then you have these kind of existential movements, no?
Yeah,
Even
shifts in. It's as if your eyes are doing a different thing from what the rest of your body is doing. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The mysteries of the Prado, right?
Mhm.
And tell us also, now we have been looking, hands, that you have been looking and paying attention to some hands. And the other day when we were also visiting with Ana González Mozo, she was showing us a lot of different ideas of moving hands.
Yeah.
And hands that are in different positions.
Yeah, that really opened the painting up for me as well. Because you realize that the painting is essentially open. You can see all of the decisions and all of the revisions, and all of the places where motion disappears into the clouds, where motion disappears into the air. It's just the traces left by a gesture that are all part of the painting still, like even if you don't on a conscious plane acknowledge them, they are very much there influencing the sensation.
If you can see, there's a hand where the painter changed the position of the hands, that just became part of the cloud, just left it as kind of a part of the cloud.
It's
poetic, we were talking.
It's the kind of thing. So I have very bad eyes, and seeing is a big decision for me. Actually, I only put my glasses on when there's something worth seeing, and there's so much worth seeing around here. But my glasses broke at a certain point, and I went to a local optician.
And we said that Helen was looking so hard that her glasses
broke. but I went to a local optician, and she was like, "So you're wearing contact lenses, right?" when she saw my prescription, and I was like, "No." And she was just kind of like, "How can you walk around?" Because that's how bad they are. So it means that if I really want to see something, I put my glasses on. So I'll put them on at the cinema, I'll put them on at galleries. And I'll put them on when there's even more to see than I thought that there was, which is very much the case here.
So with now, as we kind of come to the end of our conversation, I'm not sure how much time we have left. It went off.
What time were we meant to?
10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because my phone went off, so sorry. I want to remind everyone that Helen will be signing her books, and she has a new novel that's coming out called Pan de Jengibre en Acantilado, and so there are some copies of that. But I would like to kind of move into now, because we wanted to talk a little bit about, for example, in Parasol Against the Axe, which, I mean, I absolutely adore. I think it's like that you say that the door was painted a different way. It doesn't surprise me at all.
No, it's Prague.
Yeah, I mean, and in this novel, there's a book called Paradoxical Undressings that changes every time the protagonist picks it up to read. It's a different story, no? Tell us a little bit about Parasol Against the Act and your book that changed, your mutable book.
The mutable book. I think it came out of a fascination with two very different experiences of visiting Prague. So I have these two characters. One of them visits Prague and she doesn't like it. She's just like, I need to get out of here. And of course, she's the one that Prague decides is not allowed. She's not allowed to leave. Prague wants her. Like, Prague wants to keep her. And then the other one, she really wants to. She wants to get close to Prague. She wants to, embrace Prague. And then Prague like you have to leave, like immediately. And both of them come to Prague with this Prague book, and I think because of who they are, they just are not able to read the same book. It's just, one of them is like trying too intensely to like close her fingers around Prague, and the other one is just completely avoidant and just wants to run off. And it means that Prague is trying to seduce one, and is trying to really like frighten and repel the other. And I think that makes the Prague book, so the stories that Prague decides to tell them about itself will naturally be different. That's the way I kind of organized it in my mind.
And the idea that each person can read a novel and read something completely different. Often it's hard to find two people who kind of have the same reading of a novel. Not all of them, but often. And you kind of defend that idea also with the paintings in the Prado. And we were talking about that, about some of the paintings that are unfinished now, and kind of the way that you write your novels is always with enough room that the reader can exert their own imagination, so that they end up becoming these mutable objects where you have a hand could be changed, or there's something below, and the surface and the color of it changes according to the chemical compound that you're applying, and that also has a lot to do with the way that you write.
Yes, it's I trust the reader to come up with something wonderful, but also I think the stories that I write, not necessarily me by extension, demand a lot from the reader, but also promise to give back a lot. So you have to really participate, and you have to really like fiction, as in jump into imagination type fiction. If you do, that's great, but I'm just passing on what I feel that I have been given by the writers that I love. Like, I feel like the writers that I love have asked so much of me.
And who are the writers that you love?
There's Calvino. Actually, I was thinking about,
yes, of course.
I was thinking about his memos for the new millennium, and how he talks about specificity and velocity, and all of the things that paintings deliver effortlessly. But it's like he set writers the task of
it's interesting to see it that way.
Outperforming the artwork.
Yeah.
I love Calvino. I love Valsa. I love Saramago. Like, I love Saramago so much. So much.
Wow.
All the Names, I think, is the best love story ever written. If you haven't read it, go read it immediately. A librarian finds a library card that's fallen down the back of a bookshelf, and he decides to find out about the person whose name is on the library card, and it ruins his life, and it also is the best thing that ever happened to him. I love that story so much. Who else? Oh, there's a writer called maybe
It's okay, it's been dusty.
Does he not want me to talk about him? He's like,
He's here saying, no, don't say it, don't say it.
Dejo. Oh, I think that I turned off my...
Teju Cole.
No, Dejo Castellani.
Ah,
Sorry, guys. Oh no, it's back.
is
Can
it
you hear
back?
me?
Yeah, there you go.
His name is Dejo
You just
Castellani.
flipped it.
He was, I don't know if he would call himself Hungarian, because of the way the borders were in the 18th century, but
Yeah, of course.
he's written two of the most... I can hardly believe that they were both written by him. Like, it's just such an extension of style. So one is called Anna Edesh, and the other one is called Cornel Esti. I just look into Dejo Castellani.
Okay.
I don't understand why everybody isn't raving about him. Who else? I mentioned Robert Valsa.
Yes, Valser, who actually came to you suggested by a Spanish journalist, right? Yeah.
It was kind of like, and I love that kind of recommendation when somebody says, you know, having read what you write, look into Valsa, and I was like, okay, we'll see. And then obviously I then read everything I could find by Valsa. Daniel Calms was very important to me for a really long time, and still is.
And Ali Smith.
Ali Smith was...
Ali Smith.
Was and is and always will be love.
Yeah.
I remember reading
wonderful.
Hotel World and taking a few days off from school just to make sure that I could finish it in peace, and just being shocked in the best possible way. I thought, you're allowed to do this? You're allowed to write like this? I want to do this.
Yeah, well, I think and you're a very good, continuer of Ali Smith.
I don't know about that.
Form of writing. I think if there's one thing that is clear, I think, in what we've been talking about with Helen's writing is, I would say there are like two things that stand out. First of all is imagination, an absolutely fertile imagination, and the capacity of language. Your English, your use of English, your use of vocabulary, it's absolutely extraordinary.
Ali's, we have to talk about Ali's within a sentence.
Who?
Ali Smith's use of... Within a single sentence, anything can happen. It's like the true promise of fiction, actually, that you are completely free. She does that, and she pulls it off like sentence after sentence. Never get tired of reading her.
Well, now, as you know, part of the next part, we're going to, so as we've been setting all of this up, we're going to have a chance to listen to Helen. A little bit, it's going to bring together a lot of the things that we've been talking about tonight. Imagination. It has a little bit to do with the idea of a book that mutates according to the person who's reading it, and it has to do with the ways of seeing, ways of looking at things, and the projection of imagination.
I'm going to stand up for...
Okay. And this is from Pieces, the novel Pieces.
Okay. So, Pieces is a train book. I really wanted to write a book that was set on a train. And I have this, I follow this couple that decide to go on a non-honeymoon honeymoon. So what's happened is that they've changed their surname so that they have the same surname, and then they're like, yay, we'll go on a non-honeymoon honeymoon. So they go on a train together, and shenanigans, just everything starts happening all at the same time. The train has different carriages, so there's one carriage that's like a sauna, and there's another carriage that's a greenhouse, and they go into a carriage that is a gallery, like an art gallery. And I thought this is the closest thing that I have to the Prado that I've written about, so I'm going to try reading it to you. What else do I need to explain? Oh, so when they go into the gallery, all of the paintings are blank. They're just white on white, and you can't see anything. And they start talking about the person who painted these canvases. Where was I going to begin? Okay, so the artist's name is Premisil. When Prem went missing, we tried to dig up photos of him, and there aren't any. Not a single photo, eh? I said. Of someone who walked this earth for over 30 years, Xavier said. It was only the viewpoint that had changed. I'd moved my whole body, not just my head. Xavier had switched positions too. That was why the self-portrait now appeared to be looking at Allegra. Those were the reasons, the very good reasons for the apparent alteration. Premisil was not going to look at me next. No, nothing of the sort. I copied his focus on Allegra, who was telling us, look, now that we don't spend time together anymore, I feel like there's something fishy about the lack of photos as well, and other things come to mind. All sorts of niggling things I suddenly want to bother him about and have him explain away. For example, look at these paintings. Prem made them too. He got rid of all the others, so these are the only ones left. She gestured towards the 2 blank canvases, a narrow streak of white above each of the connecting doors. They're not paintings, Xavier said after a moment. Unless we're looking at white paint on white canvas or some similar abstraction. Abstraction, Allegra said tiredly. No, just tell me what's in the paintings. I looked up and to the left, swiveled, then looked up and to the right. I saw white, unbroken by even the faintest hint of an outline. Perhaps there was something notable about the smoothness and density of texture, but that wasn't something you could say was in the paintings. Why don't you just tell us? No, you have to say it. Look at the one to the left and talk. Just say whatever comes into your head. I surrendered first. Okay, but all I can see is an axe about the length of my arm with a ribbon tied into a bow around the handle. What? Allegra grabbed a fistful of her own hair and nodded. Xavier stared up at the canvas too, closed his eyes tightly, opened them again and said, Sorry, but I can't see that the axe is sketched in grayscale, but the ribbon's ruby red. Whoa, I said, because even after hearing his description and my own, all I saw was a white canvas, and it seemed an image that had utterly bypassed my eyes and flowed straight into words. And to the right, Allegra said, You can't pause, keep looking and keep saying what you're thinking. But Allegra, what devilry is this? Xavier said, eyes probing the canvas from corner to corner. Does everybody you ask to look into this white box tell you it's an utter blank in the center of which is a gamine brown woman with an ecstatic smile and her hands in the air like she's conducting a chorus of angels, and they sound so good she's dropped her baton? I faced the second canvas dead on. White light bounced off white material, and this is what I told Xavier and Allegra. This is a white canvas. There isn't a single gap in the white. It's forceful in its very flatness. So how can Ava be layered on top with this downright exuberant finger-painted effect, playing an invisible theremin? Xavier made a confounded, delighted, clucking sound in the back of his throat. He took a photo of each of the blank canvases, and Allegra and I leaned over his phone as he zoomed in and zoomed out again. The white got grittier when he zoomed in, but that was all. Yeah, Allegra said. I wish I'd asked Prem how he made these paintless paintings. I think I held back because I thought I wouldn't understand visual artist chat. Now I know I should have insisted he give me a term or something I could research, because being left behind with works like this make me wonder who he really was. That's it. Thank you for listening.
I think we'll close with just thanking you very much, Helen, for coming and for spending your time here. I think we're all very anxious to know how you're going to use all of this this new knowledge, this information.
Don't expect too much, guys.
Because it has to be, I can imagine now that you have your painting, this the Prado is going to become one of your places on earth.
I hope so.
Thank you
Valerie.
very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. It's over. We did it. So now